Okay, y'all ready? So up to this point, we've kind of just taken a look at what our React app looks like, essentially. Some of the pieces of it. We only really dug into the app.js, the index.js, and we looked at the index.html file in the public folder where our app will actually be rendered into, and that is what appears in our preview page. So now I think it's time to actually start coding. And I know a lot of you, when I pause this, you're asking like, what is this class thing? What does that do? What does extends mean? App, component, all this stuff here. Like we're importing React and component from React, but what exactly? Do we even use React? Do you see us using React anywhere? Like it's kind of confusing, right? And I think that because it's a little confusing, I'm actually going to simplify a lot of this right now. And to get you started coding with something that you're more familiar with, let's go ahead and do two things. Let's start right below this import ./app.css, which is how we bring CSS files into, actually, oh yeah, it's right there, into each of our components. You can actually import a specific CSS file just for the app component. And what that means is not super complicated, but we're going to talk more about it in a second. All I want you to do right now is I want you to create a function. And I want you to name the function the exact same thing that we have named this app here. So I want you to name it function app, like that. And this you're probably more familiar with. You know what a function is. You've seen a function before. We've used functions in this class a bunch. But in React, they can do things that otherwise would be a little more difficult with vanilla JavaScript. And so I'm actually going to go ahead and start building this little function by taking everything in between the return statement here. You see this where it says return? I'm actually going to do the same thing. Just like a normal app, I'm going to return something. But I'm going to return something in between parentheses like this. And I'm going to put everything, all this like weird looking HTML type stuff that appears in between the return statement on line 14 down to line 29 for me. I'm going to copy all of it. I'm going to exit out and I'm going to put it inside my function like this. So nothing crazy. I'm going to indent it a little bit. Just took all the stuff that used to be inside the class app thing and put it inside the return statement of a function that I also named app. And I'm actually going to delete the class app extends component thing. And if I do that and save, I want you to notice something. When I save this, it's going to recompile my app. It's going to, hey, give you a little warning there. But when we actually look at our app, if I pop it into a new browser screen, nothing has changed. Everything still works the same. And I think this is a really good way to start understanding what React is actually doing. Like we're just using a function to return what's known as JSX, which is all this HTML type stuff inside a JavaScript function. This is called JSX. And again, JSX. You don't need to know too much about JSX or actually really anything at all for now. You just need to know that all of this is just valid HTML with a few changes to make it work inside React. And so you see, instead of using class, we use class name. You see, instead of having a source equals a link, we're using these squiggly brackets and we're putting a variable name inside it, which is going to hold the logo that you see appear here, this little cool looking React atom with electrons circling a type logo. So if we do this, this is what React really is. React is about, in the beginning at least, functions that return what's known as JSX. So just basically functions that return HTML. And when you call those functions, they create our website here, our little app. And so you'll spend a lot of time writing functions that return HTML in the form of JSX, as we see it here. And so just by doing this, we've already started writing our first piece of React. So I think that's kind of cool. Do you have any questions about this? I know that I didn't really do anything much except change something that you had never seen before, a class app, into something you have seen before, a function called app. And we haven't really done anything with this, but right now, boom, there it is. Kind of cool, right? So if you've had a question this whole time, something like, why do we import all this stuff then? What's the reason? Because I still imported React component and even complained about it a little bit there. We're going to talk about that a little bit more. But when you say import React up here, that's what allows us to write this JSX inside of our function, inside of our app function. The reason we can write and return HTML inside a function is because we import React at the top. So technically we don't need this component anymore. So I'm going to delete that and save it again. And you'll see that that warning will go away. And now this is totally valid React. Everything works fine. We're good to go. And I think it's time, I'm just going to pause this here and we're going to start actually writing some React application stuff in the next video.